We made sure you're there's a good sculpture, like there's sculpture, there's a skeleton right into the system of it.
The kid was like over here.
At night, like. Okay, great. It's right there. We're good.
Okay, Ken, you got a okay, we'll be in good shape.
You're right?
Oh, yeah.
Did you hear it?
Yeah, I was waiting for it. And then I actually wait. Yeah. And then the whole view was sorry.
Yeah, they work with my questions. No,
about 20 minutes from, right?
Yes, it's from
Indio,
India, it's about 16 miles.
Oh, okay.
It was we had a hard time finding the place.
Oh.
We get lost easily.
You don't want one of those people that you Google whatever.
No.
Jim,
No.
they try to teach him.
Oh, here, sorry.
He's always been good, it's just, you know,
I told you.
good directions, just, you know, straight north, south. He looks at a map and figures out how to get it.
Yes.
I kept getting the name, trying to find it. I couldn't get it.
Oh, the name of the street?
Yeah. But the office. I'm bad.
I've also heard it's just we tried once to go there in December, because there's a church out there, and they have a big tamale festival.
Oh.
Or maybe it's just a church, I'm not sure. And, you know, everybody brings different tamales. Yes, it is. But we were out there in the morning. So I said, this is a restaurant.
It's working. And can you do it with the slice of green sauce?
Like my brother.
I think a lot of that.
Was just involved in voice test. And then that they did it in December, they would buy huge amounts of tamales and sell them, they make profit.
Yes.
So if you call all the time, so I ordered 2 dozen tamales. Yeah, right. Very good. But he had it at 4 o'clock in the morning, picking them up at 6 places.
I think not every year, there are a lot of. We just use it as a nice, just grab it. Like.
Do you want any? Oh, no, good. Have you seen Burger Area? Yeah, it's a scary area. It's really good. What is it? Just a mall. There is like this really but it's you watch it? No. Oh, okay. We used to watch it. It was like a scary movie. Oh, I'm sure what about now. Yeah, it's recent. Yeah, she goes to Airbnb and like some friends are trying to. Yeah, he's making he makes things a lot more. Like what really there? Or your team Okay.
I don't recommend it.
No, I don't think I'm watching it, but I saw the trailer for it.
That's super good.
Because it's just in theaters.
Okay, that all
All right,
systems
one last
go?
thing.
Are we actually set up, sir?
That's it, they really show up.
That's your turn, mic on.
Okay.
You're gonna stream it, so.
Well, if it's just these people, I'll feel very comfortable
You guys really
at the
see
podium.
I'm still out, but.
Your mom's friend.
Yeah.
I know, I really wanted
Exactly.
to.
I was-
And a lot of these people wouldn't know.
Right.
Uh,
Well,
But
it's 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's like
Oh,
most made up
okay.
of footage and like him in his own words, so it's not like pieced together, right? It's definitely done like through his.
Margie was
like,
involved in
work
so
and
many
tries to
things,
offer as much
bring
of his words
pathways
as
and-
possible.
Oh, wow. What's the name of it?
Took a water
Really-
otter
really
classes,
interesting.
like, I guess some kind of water
Really interesting.
aerobics.
They did a really good job.
Yeah, we went, when I came up, we
Yeah,
went
it's
to the
fantastic.
pool
It's like.
each day, about
I wish it's.
45 minutes.
Uh-huh.
Maybe New Park.
My
You know,
skin
I
started to
smiled the
wrinkle.
day after,
It's time to go.
That just made it
Yeah,
better,
it
because it
is.
was everything they have in it.
Affirming.
Yeah.
Water's always been very comfortable, you know, because usually it's so
Did you get
hot.
them?
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Yeah, you did a really nice job with that.
Well, it's working. To me, that's a major victory right there. Helen,
Yeah.
where do you want to set the platter? Do you want to put that on the food table?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So if your audio is good now, let's go here. It's coming to, looks like it's coming to me in just one channel. You're getting two channels?
Jim and I wanted to do centerpieces, you know, fall.
Yes.
And so we went to Michael's. There was nothing for fall. Everything was Christmas. Everything was
Already?
Christmas. Already.
Oh, my goodness. Not even
You would have
Thanksgiving.
thought that Thanksgiving didn't exist.
More profitable, I guess, for Christmas.
I guess so. Now they go from Halloween right to.
That's amazing.
How about now?
But these, this is nice.
Should I go come back? Okay, yeah, I'm.
It was funny, my mother used to make tamales every Christmas.
Mhm.
And then she, you know, she passed away. 2 or 3 years passed and I didn't make it. And Jim said,
PowerPoint on a loop.
I miss your mother's tamales. Do you know how to make them? Yes. Well, how come you never made them? And I said, well, you need a big steamer basket.
Right.
One day he came home from work and guess what? He had a big steamer.
He was serious, huh?
He was serious. He wanted his tamales. And we,
It's funny. He didn't want store-bought tomatoes, he wanted homemade.
and then I make, you know, I experiment some Monterey Jack,
Oh, yeah.
you know, some hot peppers, and we do all kinds of, we did also the sweet raisins and cinnamon.
Yeah, I can choose them. It won't, start moving the film.
Jim got his, noticed that he has to renew his license.
Oh, good for him.
Yes, in January. Sal, come and sit with us.
We used to do it out here in the desert where there's nobody out here. Yeah, every 5 years.
Is it easier to pass out here?
Well, there aren't as many people, so the line wouldn't be as long. When I had to renew mine a couple of years ago, they say go online, make an appointment. So I did. When I'm in Pasadena, no appointments available, contact another office. I thought, oh my God. So then I went on El Monte, I think an office, unavailable, contact another office. I had to go to West Covina.
Oh, my goodness.
So I went to West Covina and
That's the only thing I can't check is the insurance.
had to wait outside 45 minutes before
You had an appointment.
yeah, and I had, before I got in, and then there was a line inside.
Yeah.
Oh, it took me 2 hours to get my license renewed.
I used to work for the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Oh, my
For like for 30 years,
Ever
right?
since I left, it's just gone downhill.
Well, it's because you left.
That's right.
That's right. Do you live here in?
No,
Oh, yeah.
I live in Alhambra, not too far from
Oh, in
Pasadena.
Alhambra.
Where do you live? Oh, San Diego? No.
I live in Pasadena, right 2 doors
Oh,
away.
okay.
Yeah.
Up on that hill, way up on that hill.
I'm always in Alhambra. I love Alhambra. It's very nice.
Yes.
Let me see. Well, you know, when I go to Costco, I go to.
Oh, yeah,
Alhambra.
right.
And then I go to that park where I walk in Alhambra.
Almanzar Park?
Yeah,
They
yes.
have a walking path.
Yes, yes.
Oh, well, I'm playing golf over next door to you.
Where are you now? Where? Where are you located in
I'm just gonna
Alhambra?
throw
It's
some
on
leaves at it.
Camellia Drive. It's 1 block south of Valley,
Oh, Valley,
and
okay.
then 1 block west of New Avenue.
Oh, okay.
Right there. There's a shopping center called the Valley Shopping Center. I'm walking distance.
Oh, that's nice.
Then there's the bank. I walk to the bank, walk to the store, and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, he's a walker.
Yeah.
I walk constantly.
That's why he's so slim. I mean, you have to exercise, you have to walk.
And she walks a lot too.
Yeah.
Well, you should be playing golf. That's a great walk.
Huh?
You should be playing golf.
Oh, yeah. Yes, of course.
He lets me walk his dog.
Oh, that's
You've got a
nice.
cute.
That's nice of you.
Yeah, well, you know, I enjoy it.
You're a dog walker, huh?
I'm a dog walker. I don't want a dog. a lot
Right.
of responsibility,
Right.
but
You have any dogs?
No, we used to,
Oh,
but I've outgrown them. I do have cats that come in the yard and they sleep, and then they do their business and they take off and go home and eat somewhere. I didn't know where they come from, but they
yeah.
sleep on my patio.
oh gee,
Those are the best pets to have.
that's right.
You don't have to take care of them, just watch them.
My friend, she's probably walking around, my friend Sal came with them. She used to feed this cat that looked like didn't belong to anybody, so she was feeding the cat. And then one day, a woman came by and said, "Do you have my cat?" And she said, well, it turned out she did have her cat. This cat was double dipping?
Double,
He really belonged to the other lady,
Right.
but since the yard was almost like, you know, a house in between, the cat was double dipping.
Good, it looks
it
great.
was putting on a lot of weight, I guess. Huh?
What else can we do?
It looks really good.
I'm just adjusting the chairs.
When we first moved
and
into
just
our
put them
house,
up a bit,
we
and then get the bags out of the
accidentally
way, the baggage.
Yeah, I kind of put our stuff in
locked
that
the
corner.
cat
Yeah, I
across the
have stuff
street
over
into
here,
our
I have a
garage.
chair here.
You know how cats are.
So,
He walked into our garage, we didn't know the cat was in there, and we locked the garage.
Right, right.
And then at night, we did this
And,
for 2 or 3 nights like that.
Yeah, you didn't move the
And
car.
and finally we figured out that there was the cat in it, and we would leave the door open to the garage. All day, we would leave it open, and it was too scared to come out.
Oh
So
my
finally,
goodness.
Jim had to go to the other side of the house, and he was hitting it with a stick, and
Yeah.
I stood by the front of the house to make sure that the,
yeah, come on, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but-
They're trying to figure out on the computer,
He's streaming it.
huh?
He is streaming it.
Oh, streaming.
In other words, like, if you couldn't come,
Oh,
if you know how to do
that's-
it on the
oh, I
computer.
see.
Like, we have friends in Ohio that are gonna be watching.
Oh,
Yeah. One in Ohio, one in Florida, well, actually, probably a couple in Ohio. And some in Florida. And, maybe some people from Northern California, I'm not sure. They said they would come, so. yeah.
Must feel like a little family reunion here, huh? 20 minutes.
are these people here?
Hi.
I don't,
Diana. Yeah. Good.
Gosh,
I know, it's been so long.
I know, you just wrote up. I just kept hearing about you guys and I kept having pictures in my head. It's like the pictures don't match
Oh
what
my
you
gosh,
guys do.
yeah.
This is my second oldest
Hello.
Nice
William.
to meet, I mean, I'm sure we met, but like, I don't recognize you either.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob, how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Good to see
Oh yeah,
you.
it's good to see you.
We just kind of got set up.
It's Rob. This is Rob. He's
This
from
is-
Texas, he came from
I haven't
Texas.
seen you
Oh,
since
yeah,
you were
yeah.
back
Oh,
in
yeah.
Oh, yeah, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Hi, I'm Rob.
Yeah, it's been a long
Nice
time
to
since I
meet
saw you
you.
guys used to come
Rob?
up. You used to
Tom.
come to
Nice to meet you.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah,
good.
that's our favorite thing.
We didn't know if you guys
for
would
around.
need help,
Yeah.
and so we thought we'd come over and
Yeah,
see.
Thanks for coming.
We wanted to be here for, you know John, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
That's quite a setup.
yeah, he's streaming it,
Oh,
so, yeah. And Christy and everybody are coming along?
They will, yeah. We weren't sure if you would be ready, if you guys needed help, or if we should.
I think,
Well, I was getting ready to give you a call,
Okay.
but everything just has been falling in place.
Okay.
And the staff has been real helpful too.
Christy?
Room for this.
She's coming later. Oh, this William,
Oh, William?
our second
Oh,
oldest.
okay, my bad, I didn't even recognize you.
No.
Yeah, I mean, my vision is bad. How are you?
Hi.
Okay, well maybe I'll tell them to come on over.
Oh, great.
We'll go get people. We just weren't sure. Oh,
Come over.
okay.
When we were doing all of our stuff in the vehicle, or in the sewer, I was like,
We'll go grab everybody.
yeah, the.
Caravan at the
All right, we'll be right back.
Sure, don't care, you were all right.
Yeah, no, I do.
it is funny, I always sleep with the window open above my side of the bed, and I do hear noises like Adam comes home very late sometimes, and I hear his truck rumble in and the door close, and so,
We saw him very briefly.
Moving
We were
furniture out here.
a long time, so let's just say hi.
yeah, so he came
Keeping you busy,
in
huh?
late
Yeah,
last
I
night.
expect it. Kids me out of trouble.
Yeah, still there.
So the,
How are you? Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I know some of you drive
The,
it.
well, this morning there was nobody. Not even the truckers were on the road.
You made good time.
So, yes, we did.
Yeah, that's
We had a
good.
good time. Brian drove out, I'm gonna drive home, so,
Yeah,
We'll see.
I hope the trip home is smooth too.
well,
Well,
as I
it's-
said, there was one crazy driver on the freeway who came whipping around Brian very close at like 90 miles an hour.
You know, it's like every time we go out, that happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes they come by in clusters, which
Yeah.
is really scary. 3 or 4 of them going by at that kind
Well,
of speed.
yeah, and it's like, why? The traffic is like, the freeway is wide open. Why are you doing that? Oh, you're William and Chase.
oh.
Oh, okay, thank you, Brian. I'm done, Fritz. William. Good to see you.
Close enough?
Good to see you.
Hi, Sal. How are you? Good, everybody.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, thanks.
Those sign seats are.
So I haven't seen you in a long time because we were away for the holidays. I'm good, how are you? No, well, almost in the same place. Northern Virginia. So, yeah, not very exciting.
There's tables over there already taking advantage of it
Really
out here at least.
You guys are traveling.
Yeah, we've been.
Oh, really? Yeah, okay, why don't we sit
Canada, we worked together
I don't
in
think there's
Europe and
anything, I don't think there's
Spain.
anybody sitting over here yet.
We might go to India.
This is good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Joy. Is Joy Green?
So we watched
And so they would just slide open the door and I think it was like huge crowd.
Oh, you ran over there?
Yeah. Oh, no.
It was that like, yeah, you should totally check it out.
Mary, they both went to my
They
wedding
didn't tell you to check out the wedding?
when I was second in Mexico. I
I
had
know,
pictures.
we stood there and like watched the
He danced on
bridesmaids
his
come out.
my
and-
husband.
Yeah, it's like, let's
My
get a little
husband
closer.
then, he
The
shot
guy was
45
cutting, he
minutes.
stopped cutting, he's filming it.
I felt so little. I don't do it.
Did you know John Boat?
Yeah.
Oh, it looks so like.
Their big moment over there.
Did you know
Glory
Teresa?
Grab.
There was a
But
little
then
girl
it's
named
interesting.
Teresa, she worked for Harry.
The bridesmaids actually don't.
And Teresa worked at KFI.
They go and sit
Teresa,
down and
right?
then the bride and groom are just sitting in chairs
She was
facing
Spanish.
each other.
Teresa,
Yeah, well, Brian said like.
No,
this would be a long
Soulier.
ceremony if they're
It's
gonna
French.
sit down.
yeah. I think, let me ask
everything about
you, is this her husband? Hold on.
Yes.
Sounds familiar,
I'm like, I remember at our wedding, one of Brian's parents' neighbors, tiny.
You're only half an hour.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's like, good job, 12 minutes.
Oh, jeez. I would say under the 15 minute mark.
Yeah, I'm like, so I said, we won't be the only one. That's it, we're not waiting for all these other people to come here.
Yeah, Teresa Soulier.
Stand up here.
She's a little
Yeah, 12 minutes, as I walked out.
Does she work for Harry? Yeah, because Harry introduced her to John
I'll say.
at KFI while they were working at
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe if I see her, I.
Yeah.
Oh, not the little one, not Church of the Angels. The big
John,
one at Rice
John
City
wasn't
Hall.
working at KFI, but like I said, Teresa was, and
Oh,
and
okay.
Harry introduced her.
Well, yeah, the one like, so, All Saints is the one that backs right up to City Hall.
Oh,
And so it now, and actually, it's between City Hall and the West.
yeah. I was at
I took Woody to see some.
Yeah.
Sit down and make yourself.
As Carol calls it, the cat.
Oh, okay. Yes, there is. Let me show you. Let me show you where your restaurant is.
Nice to meet you, Judy.
Hi, I'm Beth. Judy, are you one of the dog walkers?
No, I'm.
Okay. Live close by? Good. Look forward to hearing about it.
Like right the same day that I was reading
So what time is your flight?
9:20.
Oh, good. Yeah,
I took the last flight out of Atlanta.
I had this worry that like it was gonna be like, oh, at 4 o'clock.
No, I was trying to be realistic about it all. It is the last flight, so if we miss it, what do you think? We'd figure it out. But I think
Yeah, I should say.
this is really,
Might be on the crest of the hill.
yes, why that way before.
We have without being
I feel like I've done work out here. There's like Friday night or something like that.
I guess you want a long time.
But yeah, it's like.
So it makes a lot of sense. We actually got people just flying to Burbank to drive to Vegas to keep his friend in custody on the drive up to watch a football game that was going to return. It's a big race.
Well, that's hopefully that it's after this weekend, and they won't be leaving Vegas. They'll be about a couple hours. Okay, so one of two things.
It might be like another.
So barriers. You don't even have to be pleasant drivers. But they're really undesirable.
Car in front of yeah.
Well, how was the drive out here? Okay, at least.
Yeah, it was fine, except for this one crazy woman about 90 who's driving around Ryan, and it's a Ryan. So he drove out, so I'll drive.
Yeah, it feels like more like insurance to me.
I agree. We were the one big.
And then did you guys stay?
They stayed at the Hilton Springs. Rudy and I had an Airbnb, so yeah, they had like
So William and Jace actually stayed in the hotel. William was out of the and they were staying at the one where I think William and Jace stayed at the hotel.
now they used to be like doing it, and now it's like
Yeah, we need to be.
and there's so many cleaning, processing,
And there's so you know for our 25. Good morning. We rented through VRBO.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we celebrate our 40th, so this was like 14 years ago.
Oh, this was significant.
That was like, well, we did this kind of like, yeah,
We got there and we smelled cigarettes, and they were like,
and yeah, oh, it was terrible, terrible, terrible. But we went to Florida, I mean, we had people coming in the city.
right.
So we had
We're friendly.
Got there.
So nice to meet you.
yeah, I mean, we only flew to
We had one on,
up to the end, anticipating the future. And with Joe, she happens from where she has doing great.
Yeah, find her episode.
Did she have surgery? This is straightening her it's easy to get into sort of, have back surgery. I'll be going through a time show too. Oh, bless her. Yeah. So she talked about that. She had such a
Missing you in the morning.
So I don't try to get Sheila's anymore. And they had, I didn't go there with Ray, but I went there with my children. And they had an outdoor area. And they actually had, so I'll take them there. I've been there for a while. They had an area where you turn the stations, get in the stations of the cross. Jesus did, and you have to get to get the whole description. We just went through it and enjoyed looking. Ty tried to explain all the things, but that kind of fizzled luminous walk together through this area. Statues, white, I don't know if it was marble, but yeah, yellow. That's a neat place to go. And I think you need to speak on the inside if you want to turn that right area. Because they do have like because then I think you get a special it doesn't cost you anything. A date the dates are delicious. Better bring a recap. I think I have a big bag of them that I might have gotten in my refrigerator. I just have some almonds and some dates. So nice, yes, you do. So nice meeting you.
I know, I met her.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Now I know who's
Who?
Yes.
You know who's the boss.
Yes. Oh, I knew that. Helen.
Yeah, that's
Anita told me that was every place over here. I'm going to share our table. And tomorrow, I sit here. Really? You get to look like that. I have long hair. No, I can't show anything true. Joe here. Put Joe here, okay? You've been in you did? Yeah, better. So
Yes.
Yeah, well, then we choose that night on Friday night, don't let anybody get
You're amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
She has, they're leaving to John's
Hello, everybody. Hello. Thank you all for coming. I'm Margie's sister, Helen. And first I want to thank Mr. John Boat for streaming this service for us. And he says on the link, you can watch it anytime you want. Anyway, so I want to thank John for being here and his lovely wife, Teresa, for also making this streaming available. And I want to thank Mr. Tom Johnston and my daughter Diana Graffias. We're going to do a reading, and then I'll follow with some remarks. And then if anybody wants to come up and speak, you're welcome. And we'll have light refreshments, and I hope you'll all, those of you who don't know each other, will turn to each other and share some wonderful, hopefully wonderful moments with my sister. And so I'll have Tom and Diana come up and do a reading first.
Hi everyone, my name is Diana Margaret, as my aunt would want me to clarify. This is a Margaret. So taken from Ecclesiastes, there's an appointed time for everything, and a time for every affair under the heavens. A time to give birth, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to uproot the plant. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to tear down, and a time to build. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones, and a time to gather them. A time to embrace, and a time to be far from embraces. A time to seek, and a time to lose. A time to keep, and a time to cast away. A time to rend, and a time to sow. A time to be silent, and a time to speak. A time to love, and a time to hate. A time of war, and a time of peace. God has made everything appropriate to its time, but has put the timeless into their hearts so they cannot find out, from beginning to end, the work which God has done. I recognize that there is nothing better than to rejoice and to do well during life. Word of the Lord.
Hello, I'm Tom Johnston. This is a reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Romans. Brothers and sisters, no one lives for oneself, and no one dies for oneself. For as we live for the Lord, and if we die for the Lord. So then whether we live or die, we are the Lord's. For this is why Christ died and came to life, that he might be Lord of both the dead and the living. Why then do we judge your brother? Or you, why do you look down on your brother? For we shall all stand before the judgment seat of God. For it is written, as I live, says the Lord, every knee shall bend before me, and every tongue shall give praise to God. So then each of us shall give an accounting of himself to God. The word of the Lord.
Thank you. I thought we were going to have a microphone, but I hope you can all hear me. I'll use my teacher voice. My sister was born July 6, 1949, in Cleveland, Ohio. Our parents were Pascual Velasquez, and my mother was Maria de Jesus Calvillo Velasquez, and all our grandparents were from León, Guanajuato, Mexico. My breath here. Okay, Margie went to St. Joseph Elementary School, and then for 4 years until 4th grade, and then she went to McKinley Elementary School, and then she went to Wilbur Wright Junior High and John Marshall High School, class of '67. And about that time, right after we graduated, we moved to Los Angeles, to California. And Margie started in September of '67 at Los Angeles City College, where she earned her AA degree. And from there, she went on to Cal State Los Angeles, where she earned a degree in journalism. She loved writing, and she loved meeting people. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about her career and everything. She did press releases, she did newsletters, she wrote the labels on the back of jam jars. I'll tell you a little bit about that more later. And she did a lot of public relations, and she was very good at that. She loved meeting people, she loved talking to people, she loved listening to their stories. So let me begin with her first job. Well, she worked part-time and at Sears, but I'll tell you a little about that later. She worked, her first job as a reporter was for the Belvedere Citizen and East Side Journal in East Los Angeles. And she had just graduated and had started at the newspaper when they had the Chicano moratorium in East Los Angeles. They had 20 or 30,000 people demonstrating against the Vietnam War. And it was at that demonstration that Ruben Salazar, the columnist for the Los Angeles Times, was killed. And of course, we knew there was going to be a demonstration, and we were worried about her, and we were very happy when she walked in the door that night. But Margie was familiar with covering demonstrations, because while she was at Los Angeles City College, they were rioting and demonstrating at the college during the day, and she would write about it for the college newspaper. I would get there at night, and it was quiet and peaceful. There was debris and glass all over the place, but everything had happened during the day. So Margie got to cover a lot of demonstrations. From the Belvedere Citizen, she went to work at Knott's Berry Farm when Mr. and Mrs. Knott's still lived on the premises. So she got to know them, and she, at that time they had the John Wayne Theater, and she got to meet my hero, Roy Rogers, and the Everly Brothers, Bobby Goldsboro, the Lennon sisters. She got to meet a lot of celebrities while working at Knott's Berry Farm. And she would tell me, oh, I went to have lunch at the Chicken Dinner restaurant. Or I walked in the ghost town. And so she had a very nice, enjoyable experience there. From there, she went to KFI Radio, where she met her husband, Harry Johnson. And she made a lot of friends there, some of them who are here today. And she did a lot of public relations for them. Oh, and just real quick before I forget, when she was at Knott's Berry Farm, she had to write the labels on the back of the boysenberry jars. Saying that Mr. Knott had developed the boysenberry. And I don't know if they're the still labels or not, the same labels or not, they might be different. Then from KFI, she went to work at Teleflora. And they're the people that deliver flower arrangements all over the country. And she enjoyed that job because she got to go to conventions around the country, and she would talk to people about, the latest trends in flowers, and what they were using to make the flowers last longer, and problems they may have had in transporting them, that kind of thing. So she enjoyed her working at Teleflora also. Then from there, she went to work at Huntington Hospital for the development office in Pasadena. And there she worked with the auxiliary groups that raised money for the hospital, like the Emergency Trauma Center. And two of those members, Mr. and Mrs. Burney, are here. They're also my neighbors. Okay. Let me tell you about when she was at St. Joseph's. Margie was a flower girl in first grade. All the little first grade girls got to be flower girls. And they would help, or they would lead the rest of the school into the church for 40-hour devotion, for First Communion, for confirmation. And that was for the first grade girls. When she got to second grade, Margie hadn't grown at all. So they asked if she could be a flower girl again. So in second grade, Margie was a flower girl. She got to third grade, and she still hadn't grown. She was really small and petite. So they asked her again to be a flower girl. Well, fourth grade, Margie still had not grown, and the nuns asked if cute little Margie could be a flower girl again. And she put her little foot down and she told my mother, I'm a fourth grader. I'm not a first grader, and I'm not going to do it. And she wasn't. She never did that. She was never a flower girl again. When she went to Wilbur Wright Junior High, no surprise here, she was a cheerleader. Just and they would go out there and do their little routines for the basketball team. And then Margie, back in the day, would finish with the splits. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I've never been to do the splits, but she could. She did the splits. Yeah. Let's see. I wanted to share with you, because she was so little and petite, she worked it. I mean, yes, she wanted to be taller, and she did finally hit that growing spurt when she was like at 10 or 11. But she worked being small and petite and dainty, because we used to clean house on Saturdays, on the weekends. And Margie's job was to dust. And she would go around with this little rag, going over here and over there. And, she was dusting. What was my job? I was the bigger, stronger, taller sister. And I had to pull the vacuum cleaner from room to room, doing all the heavy work until she finally grew. And I could finally say, maybe it's time she started shoveling snow. I mean, pulling the vacuum cleaner, but getting to shoveling snow. We lived on a corner, down one side, down the other. And I was looking through pictures, looking for pictures of Margie shoveling snow. I couldn't find any. There were a number of pictures of me shoveling snow, but Margie was not shoveling snow. So she could work the angles. She could do that. Let's see. I want to share a little bit about when she was working in East Los Angeles at the Sears, the big flagship store at that time in Olympic and Soto. And one day she was working there, and two of the sales associates came up to her and said, there's a lady over there and she's asking for something and we can't figure out what she's asking about, what she's looking for. So Margie went over there and said, may I help you? And the lady said, I'm looking for a babushka. Now, Margie knew what a babushka was. For those of you who don't know, it's a square kerchief. You fold it into a triangle, you put it over your head and tie it under your chin like a Russian grandmother. Like a babushka. And so we all carried them in our purses because one, you never knew when you were going to go by a church and you want to go in and you had to wear something on your head. And two, the winds off Lake Erie were really cold. So we all wore babushkas. And this lady was looking for a babushka. And in East Los Angeles, they probably called it a scarf or pañuelo. So Margie knew. We spoke Spanish at home, but as soon as we walked out the door, it was all English. And we knew we wanted to work on our Spanish. So we both formally took it in school, to learn and to write it properly. And then one summer, Margie went down to Guadalajara, Mexico, to take a course down there. And she was on the bus, and two Americans got on the bus and were trying to talk to the bus driver about where they wanted to go. And the bus driver spoke no English. Their Spanish seemed to be very limited. So Margie offered to jump in. She jumped in there and did some translating and worked everything out with them. And these people didn't speak very much Spanish, so they thought she was a fluent speaker. So, of course, she sat down and they said to her, where did you learn to speak English? So, yeah. So, I want to talk to you about that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about when we first came to California, even then, real estate in California was much more expensive than it was in Cleveland. So my parents had sold their house, but they could only make a down payment on the house that we were buying out here. So I worked, Margie went to school, my parents bought the groceries, my mother made our dresses, my dad worked on the car, and cut the grass and did that kind of thing. And then when she finished school, it was my turn to go to school full time. And she made the house payments, we just reversed roles. She made the house payments, I went to school. And then she was always nagging me, when are you going to finish? I said, well, Margie, I still have to do student teaching. Well, when are you going to finish? Well, she had a plan in her head. She couldn't wait to go out and buy her own real estate.
Yeah.
Well, now, my parents said, we know you girls want to go out on your own, so Margie wanted to buy her real estate, and I was dumb, I'm renting an apartment. But they said, let's get a duplex. And the tenants basically will finish, making the house payments, and then we will have something extra when we're just drawing Social Security. And that's the way it worked out. And she was good in the sense that she knew she had to put me through school. She didn't drop the ball on that one. So we worked together. But anyway, she bought a little duplex, flipped it, and then she bought a triplex. And she hung onto that triplex until she was ready to retire. And then, when they were ready to retire, well, just before that, let me go back just a little bit. When she married Harry, they bought a condominium in Santa Monica, and they also, I think, bought a unit down at the marina. But eventually, they started thinking about retiring, and so they moved back to Alhambra, and her last job in Alhambra was at the El Manser Center, which is a school for disabled children. And Margie's chief job there was to write grants. But she was also chatting up the Chamber of Commerce and the merchants in the area, saying, hey, could you donate some turkeys for Thanksgiving? And she and Harry would cook those turkeys. Now, they weren't the only ones cooking them. Other people did side dishes and stuff. But that was, other duties as assigned. Getting turkeys and cooking them for Thanksgiving. It wasn't just writing. So anyway, when they were ready to retire, they started looking at different communities out here in the desert. And they fell in love with the Desert Princess. And so that's why they bought their villa out here. They made multiple trips out here. And they said, oh, we found this place called the Desert Princess. And Harry played golf. And as you know, Margie joined, oh my gosh, she was an unofficial or honorary member of the Dawn Patrol Dog Walker Society. I know about your dogs. I may not know you personally, but I know some of you have dogs that have special diets. One of them had to learn how to get out of the swimming pool because if a dog falls in the pool, he doesn't know how to use the steps. I know about the dogs. I not particularly know about you, but anyway, and they're a wonderful group of people who looked after her. When Harry died, they offered to lend her a dog because they said dogs are good therapy, and they are. And maybe someday I'm going to get a dog, and guess what I'm going to call it? Margie. So anyway, they retired out here, and Margie joined the Red Hat Ladies. She was on the welcoming committee. She was on the library committee. She took classes with the Water Otters. She was in the reading club. And there's probably stuff that I don't even know what she was involved with because she was a joiner.
Yeah.
And she really, because she enjoyed people. So I'm just going to finish up with one little story. Every Thanksgiving, Margie and Harry came to my house for Thanksgiving. Sometimes they would spend Christmas in Missouri, because that's where Harry was from, and his sisters were living there. But every Thanksgiving it was at our house. And one day I was looking at what I was going to be serving, and I noticed I had all these side dishes. So I called her up and I said, Margie, you don't have to bring your signature casserole dish, which is I think it's originally the Campbell's soup, cream of mushroom, creamy casserole, the one with the little onions on the top. That one, I'm sure you know it, you're familiar with it. And I said, you don't have to bring it. And she said, oh, but I always bring it. And I said, well, Margie, you're always afraid of spilling it in that little sports car of yours. You're always wrapping it up in all this plastic because it might spill in the little sports car. So she said, oh, okay. Well, then later on, I casually mentioned this to my daughter, Diana Margaret. I said, I told Aunt Margie not to bring her cream of mushroom green bean casserole, the one with the little onions on the top. And she said, oh, Mom, you never make that dish, and I look forward every Thanksgiving to Aunt Margie's casserole. So I said, well, I hate to call her up. I'll think about it. Well, next thing you know, I get another phone call. Mom, this is Anita. Oh, hi, Anita. Mom, Diana Margaret says that you told Aunt Margie not to bring her cream of mushroom green bean casserole, the one with the little fried onions on the top. And I said, oh. So I called her up and I had to say, Margie, I have a revolt. I have a rebellion. You have to bring that casserole. And she said, well, I got an idea. Why don't I bring the ingredients over to your house and I'll put it together at your place. And that way, you'll see how I make it. So this year. The casserole. Problem.
We don't know how this works.
Oh, sorry. Hi, I'm Joy Green. I hope I can hold it together. Reading this to my husband, I broke down. Give me a minute. I knew I wouldn't be able to say all the things that was in my heart, so I wrote a little poem. It's called My Redhead Sister, Marge. I sit around wondering and watching the days go by. I look at your picture and I ask, why did you have to die? You've been there for me from the very first time we met because you were my friend and my sister. And I was always there for you until the very end. But now it's time to let you go, and that's so damn hard. Your spirit is free, perhaps with Harry, even though you won't really be gone because you will always be in my heart. So when we leave you at your resting place, we will always remember your beautiful smiling face. This is hardly goodbye, so I will just try my very best not to weep, and I'm doing a horrible job, as you can see, because now you're in a better place. Even though I will miss you and think of you every day, you will always be my redhead sister and my friend. I could say more of that.
Rob, I think you wanted to say something?
We'll see. Does this work?
Not yet. Oh, I don't know.
How about now?
No.
Nothing?
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
I don't know if people will need it from me, but we'll try it with other people. Okay, I'll just be loud. So I'm Rob. I'm Harry and Marge's son. And, you know, when I first thought about what I was going to say, I was thinking of all these stories from our family and things that have happened, and I thought, you know, it's really interesting. We don't get to choose our parents, right? You're just born with them and you get what you get. But when you have somebody else come into your family later on, that's like a choice to be kind to that person and have them be kind to you. And that was the thing about Marge is we were immediately like her kids. She didn't ever treat us any differently. It wasn't an awkward thing. Of course, if you know Marge, Marge will just walk up to people and say, hi, you know, I'm Marge. So for us, that was just fantastic because we're all introverted a little bit. So having her, she helped me so many times in my job, because my job is I'm a coach. So I work with people one-on-one all the time, and I would tell Marge, oh, I'm so nervous. I've got like 200 people I'm gonna be in a room with them, and I'm fine when I'm on stage, but afterwards I have to go around and talk to people. And so Marge would just say, well, here's what you do. You just walk up and say, hi, my name's so-and-so, and you just ask them things about themselves. And it was just one of those little skills that she had. I had no idea how to do that with people, how to make small talk. She said, you don't have to. Just ask them about themselves. People will talk all day. And that was amazing. That was such a wonderful gift that she gave me. And I use that every day now in my job and when I deal with people. I'm also really terrible with names, so I don't remember people's names, but I remember the stories that they tell me. So Marge said, we'll use that, because no one will ever notice that you forgot their name if you say, how's your son? I remember last time we talked a year and a half ago that your son was going through some stuff, and that was like her way of saying, it's okay. You know what, they'll never notice. If you remember something about them, that's okay. They'll still want to be your friend years later. So she just helped us immensely. We have so many stories. My sister, most people here don't know my sister, but my sister sent me an email with some stories that she wanted me to relate to everybody. And so my sister is a talker. And so I'm not gonna use all the stories, because we'd be here for a little while. But I tried to think of the things that, I tried to think of the things, oh no, there's more, oh, sorry. I tried to think of the things that I went through too. So one of the things that I remember is right out the gate, we were friends with the family. And I remember going to your parents' house for Christmas, and they made tamales every year, which for us was just like, whoa, this is the coolest thing. Yeah. Unfortunately, now we don't eat tamales anywhere else because they're not very good and it's not the same, but we all remember sitting there. I met my wife on AOL before there was an internet, so that was a very weird thing back then when we met. And our first Christmas together, we went there. And my wife said, as soon as she was in there with your mom, and you and Marge making tamales, my wife said that sealed the deal. So 27 years later and 5 kids, Marge and you guys are responsible for that happening. I don't know if she would have kept me if it wasn't for that. There were so many stories about them helping. I was just on the tail end of going off and doing my own thing, but my sister had the opportunity to move in with them. And my sister is very shy and quiet. Having Marge around is just so great for her. And they were involved in the school, which we had never had that before. Our parents were always working, and so it was like the old days with latchkey kids. That's what we were. We had a key, we came in, we let ourselves in, we did whatever we did, and as long as we were home by the time the street lights came on, we were okay. But my sister had a completely different situation in that they were both very involved, and they went to the school, St. Monica. They would, my father would sing in the choir, and he's not Catholic, he's not anything, but he loved the choir and loved going to church, and he loved drinking with the priests and the rest. But Marge was just always very involved with that kind of stuff, and just made us always feel so comfortable and so engaged, and we never ever felt like we were coming in from the outside, and I hope we made her feel the same way, because she's just so special to us, and it's been very hard this last year losing my dad and then losing Marge, because we weren't expecting either one of them, but we thought we'd have a lot more time with Marge. And I miss her phone calls because they were very transactional. So I would call Marge, and Marge, I think, had an agenda, it felt like sometimes, because Marge would say, and this person's doing this, and this person's doing this, and this, and I talked to your cousin, and this, and then she would say, okay, now what do you have? And then I would go back through and tell her all the things, and then Margie was just so good, she would say, okay, is that it? I think we're done. Okay, all right, I'll see you later. And she would say, toodles. And that was it. So it was always so wonderful. I'm just so lucky to have another chance at having parents and having a different parent, which is just something that a lot of people don't get to experience, and it was such a good thing. I miss them both terribly, and I know my sister does too, but she's not gonna get up here. So from both of us, it's just wonderful. We miss her so much, and thank you guys for having us here and letting me speak a little bit. I appreciate it, and I saved you from my sister, so you can thank me.
If there's anybody else that would like to come up and say anything, otherwise.
Ellen, I would like to have you explain what the pictures are all about, if you don't mind.
Sure, real quick. Okay, this is her high school picture.
Ah.
This was at a wedding anniversary for our Slovenian grandparents.
Ah.
This is my dad. This is Margie's, I think, 46th birthday. This is a Halloween party. My dad again. We couldn't find hardly with my mother, because she was the one taking the pictures. This is her graduation from LA City College.
Ah.
This is with, I think, Diana Margaret. I'm not sure. Oh, Bathing Beauty.
Especially that one where she's on that contraption.
Oh, I wasn't sure about that one. Some of these, I'm not sure where they were taken, because I wasn't.
It's a segue. She was just running the segue.
I wouldn't do that.
She seems to be making something.
The other one looked like you.
Oh, that one, I don't know. I recognize some of them, but maybe these are Rob's kids, maybe. Oh, and this is her riding a bicycle in Cleveland. Oh, and that's her and Harry.
Is that when they got married, or?
No, I think it was when Christy got married.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was at their wedding, and the picture, I don't know when it was taken. Oh, that's me, I'm the pretty one, I'm the cute one. And this is when I got married. This was a friend of ours. And that's back to the first
Looks like a
picture.
first reunion.
Yeah, high school.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, if nobody else wants to say anything, we're okay. Want to come on? Just come on up, come on down. Is that what they say?
I was just gonna stand here.
And introduce yourselves. Teresa. Yeah.
Okay, I'm Teresa Vogt, and when I graduated from college a few years ago, Harry hired me. It was my very first job at KLI. And my very first day there, I sat with Marge at lunch. So it's been 40 plus years, and that group of people are still friends. And some are here, and some are watching online, and we have stories for days and days and days, and we won't keep you for all of them, but we would get together and do everything. We would do trips. We would go to Mexico. We would go to the mountains. We would go to the beach. We would have the most amazing Halloween parties where Marge and Harry always had the best costume because they were always way outside the box. And of course they had dear Mother Velasquez to make Marge's costumes. We had pool parties at each other's houses. It was just one of those groups of friends where you could do anything together, you could say anything together. And it was just such a glorious, beautiful time. And we were still all connected, even though we're all kind of in different parts of the country now, but we're still all connected. And I think about so many things that I loved about Marge. Her laugh, which is in my head forever. And one of my favorite lines that she used to use when we would go out somewhere, this is before she got married, and we would go after work, and she would, every time she would see a nice-looking gentleman, she would say, "Oh, hello, I'm Marge. Are you single? Are you, do you cook?" And the other thing I loved about Marge is whenever I was dating, she would tell me if the guy was cake or Frosting. Now, Frosting is the guy who looks good on your arm, and he has a fast car, but he's not marriage material. But then you have Cake. Now, Cake is a little more settled, and he could be marriage material, maybe. So I had to check with her to find out, you know, if my boyfriend was Cake or Frosting.
More filling.
Exactly. And then as it turned out, my husband started out as Frosting. And then he became Cake, so let's share some of our KFI
My name
memories.
is Becky Nelson, and I started to some other KFI people at KFI years ago, and I never knew, walking in that door, what would happen these many years later. I remember our ringleader, Liz Grady, got us all together, but Marge brought such a East Coast sensibility that Native California had never seen. She was prim and proper, but in the best way, and could just swing right. I remember walking into the lunchroom at KFI, and Marge is sitting there with her lunch, plated, cloth napkin, silverware, glass, just a beautiful setup. I'm like, who does that? Marge does, every day. And it was just, wow. And then hearing about her family, you know, oh, and Sister Helen, and Brother Jim, and nieces, and Papa Velasquez, he did this, and Mama Velasquez was sewing my Halloween costume. You're like, oh, you're getting this great story about a family. They didn't know who I was. They never, I mean, I'm meeting Helen and Jim today. But it was just like this great, beautiful story about her family. And, you know, mentioned the Halloween parties, when we would go out to dinner with Mark before we were all married, and she would go in, we'd be in a booth, and she'd see a cloth napkin, and she could make a rabbit, a bunny. And there'd be a young man there, and all of a sudden she'd see this bunny. And we would be on the floor laughing so hard, but she kept it up. This East Coast prim lady is now doing a bunny in the restaurant and going, hi, what's your name? And we were laughing, and I said, I would never have the nerve to do that, but Marge did several times. And then it was so wonderful when she was with Harry, and they get married in Paris. Who gets married in Paris? How romantic. And, you know, we kept there throughout the years. Also hearing about Rob and Christy. I mean, just heard Christy just had her birthday, and I'm like, oh, cool. And, you know, she's telling me, Christy, no, she can't be that old because I just turned that age. No. Christy and Rob are still kids. Come on, give me a break. And then they moved out here, and again, their generosity. Always said, we got the casita, come here, stay, come see. Just so generous, both of them, so loving. And the only thing I can say in this turn of events is that I just hope that I know they're together, and I know that they're here in spirit, and you know, they're never gonna, they're just always gonna be here with their generosity and love, and I'm so thankful that I got to meet Marge and our KFI crew. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm the tall one. Okay. I came to know Marge by marriage. My husband, well, actually even before we were married, was at KFI, and he and Harry definitely buddied up. And in fact, Harry would be off air at roughly 4 o'clock. My husband's engineering shift would end at about 4:30. And very conveniently, right next to KFI was a Hyatt Hotel with a lounge. And they would solve the world's problems over beer. My backstory was I was seeing some other people, but I didn't realize that my future husband was plotting with Harry using beer bottles and salt and pepper shakers on the navigation of how, like a giant chess game, how they were going to knock off these other suitors, if you will. Oh. So Robert and I got married in 1980. Christy and Robbie were pretty young then. I remember Christy as a 7-year-old, but Harry was one of our ushers. And then, so like I said, I came to it by marriage. I certainly appreciated all of that. Harry and Bob went first, and Harry was angry, said, I'm older. You can't take cuts. But the two of them, not blood brothers, but truly just attached at the hip. My husband had a reputation for being very quiet, but he was a Gemini, and if you knew that other side, boy, did the pendulum swing. And those Halloween parties were an opportunity, thanks Liz, for people like Becky who said, who knew Bob even talked, let alone that he was funny? But Harry did. And like I said, they were just brothers from the get-go. Mama Velasquez would always come through. One of my favorite costumes, they would do some kind of pairing, was when they came as a bride and groom. Maybe it was foretelling, but anyway, foreshadowing. Marge looked like Gomez Adams in a little tuxedo. And Harry would look for any excuse to wear a dress. Previously, he'd been a Supreme. Don't ask.
Ballerina.
And a ballerina. Yeah, oh, that was a good one, yes, the tutu. In this case, he was definitely a blushing bride. And there were a couple examples when we honestly said, how did you find a gown? And often Mama Velasquez would have had to make some alterations. Those are just such wonderful memories that we all have. And it was the group, and that's why we feel like, wow, you know, of course there's blood relations, but I think everybody here has a different time window that we knew Marge or Marge and Harry, and so we all have our own stories. But I'm just so grateful that we're all connected, and we're all here to honor her today.
Yeah.
Because we missed her like crazy, but it's all because we loved her.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Nobody else will come up. Oh, he wants to come up. Wait. Come on up.
I know a lot of you from Desert Princess. I'm from Desert Princess. I'm Deb Blackmore, and I really got to know Marge in 2012 when I was put in charge of the Rally for the Cure breast cancer tournament here. And Dodie, little Dodie, raise your hand. Dodie and Judy and Marge would walk, and they would always come down my street. And so I was telling them about the tournament, and then Marge goes, well, I can write. I said, well, that's great. What do you want to write? And she said, well, I'll get sponsors for the tournament. And I said, well, that'd be great. So she wrote to all the companies in the local area, and she got 6 sponsors at $100 each to have T signs on our golf tournament. So that brought in $600 right off the bat. And so she helped with the tournament. So I really got to know Marge then. But Dodie and Marge would walk by. And when I got my German Shepherd, Callaway, who was huge, everybody remembers him, then Marge brought me Rin Tin Tin. And then when I got a bunch of ant bites playing golf, Marge brought me the Afterbite pin for my bites. So, and when I got sick, she brought me soup, not only the bowl of soup, but a whole box of crackers to go with it. And she was always bringing me rice pudding. I don't know if you've had her rice pudding, but anytime she would make the rice pudding, she would bring me rice pudding. And so I have so many fond memories of her, and she was such a giver and just a hoot. She always had this ability to make me laugh.
Yeah.
So she will be missed. Yes.
Okay, how
one? Can I do
Yes, sure,
one?
please come
I
up.
wasn't sure if I could do this or not, but I first ran into Marge when we moved here about 9.5 years ago. And when I say ran into, I really should say she first ran into me. She was driving her golf cart, not watching where she was going, and I had to get out of the way. Okay, so immediately she looks at me and she goes, "Hi, I'm Marge." I said, "Yep, okay, nice to meet you, Marge." She goes, "Are you new here?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "All right, so tomorrow we're gonna get you a hair cutting appointment," because my hair was kind of long, and you know how Marge wore her hair really short. And I said, "Oh, okay, but I don't know if my husband will approve." Anyway, we went on and ended up really good friends. And I want to thank Rob for finally giving me a hint why Marge always called me Little Buddy. She probably couldn't remember my name. Over the years, we got into a lot of things together. She and I did golf tournaments. We would get out on Lagos 8, and she could talk anybody into anything. It was hilarious, and she really had fun with it, even though she didn't really golf. We ended up one year painting the fairway markers. And, you know, that's 27 holes of these square fairway markers. And we were getting into it really well. We had a system. And we're out on one long fairway that had no water on it. And Marge had been doing the water. And I was doing some of the other painting. And all of a sudden, I looked at the marker, and she had the blue paint out, painting in where it was supposed to be green. Marge always got enthusiastic about everything. After that, I said, "Marge, take a look at the fairway before you start to paint. Do you see water out there?" She goes, "No." Enough said. Marge was also my friend and buddy for the welcoming committee. We got that started about 7 years ago, and she was one of the originals, as was I. And we had more fun visiting new people and making them feel welcome. And Marge never met anybody who was not her immediate friend. She could do that ever so well, and I'm gonna miss her.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's no one else, then I'm going to have my. Oh, there is one more? I don't see it. It's okay.
Stand up.
Helen,
May I?
come up to the front because John is streaming it and he can't.
Okay.
My name is Marie Airy. I'm a Teleflora connection. Your sister hired me after 3 weeks part-time. Apparently I passed mustard. And then from then on, she took me under her wing, as she has done, as you've related, so many of you. Spicy, zesty, outspoken, and saucy. I learned so much marketing, public relations from her. And maybe more importantly, I learned how to navigate corporate cultures and clashes. I was pretty young at that. She was an inspiration. We traveled to conventions, which she loved, the Teleflora conventions. I learned a lot of technical skills, how to hire a photographer across the country, how to work with people in Canada, et cetera, et cetera. We stayed in touch. I got to meet Harry David. I thought she always called him Harry David. I don't know. Yes, she did. Harry David. Just before they married, passing glances at the two children. They wouldn't remember me. And we kept in touch off and on. My husband and I moved here about 12 years ago. She reconnected with me. As she did, she'd reach out. I shall miss her tremendously. She helped my career. She helped me develop as a person. She could say things and get away with it that I can't. She just had that knack of being able to do a zinger and truthfully. I saw her August 26th. She invited my husband and I over for her famous tostada bar. We were in the middle of an unexpected, unplanned move. We have since found our place and moved through. And I shall miss my goofy Halloween cards from her. We had a tradition of little humorous. I sent her one and I didn't hear, and I thought, well, da-da-da-da. Now I know. I miss her. I'm so glad I got to meet Helen. I've not met you. And Jim, I'm sorry it's under these conditions. Reconnect with Rob and Krista, who don't remember me from anything. And so many of you. I feel I shall miss her always. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, you're gonna go up there. I'm sorry? Yeah, yeah. Okay, my daughter, Anita, and her boyfriend, Uri, Nieto, are going to sing a very traditional Spanish song, and you're welcome to join in the chorus. And the song at the very end says, sing, don't cry, because singing helps the heart. Say hi to people that you don't know. Say, how do you know Margie? Thank you all for coming.
Yeah.